In a quiet town, nestled between rolling hills and narrow winding roads, lived a gentle man named Simon. He owned a second-hand music shop, a small place filled with instruments that carried the weight of forgotten songs. His father had run the shop before him, and many of the guitars, violins, and keyboards still sat just as they had years ago, gathering dust and stories. Simon loved music with all his heart. As a teenager, he played the guitar with dreams stretching far beyond the town. But adulthood had changed him. Bills stacked up, responsibilities grew, and his little shop barely earned enough to feed his wife and 3 children. Still, he opened the doors every morning, arranging instruments with tenderness, hoping that someone might walk in and bring life back to the strings and keys. Some days, he caught himself staring at the dusty amplifiers, imagining the echoes of songs he never got to play. Other days, he watched the empty doorway and wondered when hope had become such a fragile thing. Yet beneath the tiredness in his bones, a quiet spark remained, a belief that music had a way of finding people when they needed it most. And though he didn't know it yet, a change was already on its way to his small, forgotten shop. Customers often came. They admired. They asked questions. They plucked a note or two. And then they left with the same familiar promise. Maybe another day. Simon knew that day would rarely come. Still, he greeted each visitor with the same hopeful smile, pretending not to notice the way their eyes drifted to the price tags before quietly stepping back. He would watch them leave through the front door, the little bell chiming softly, a sound that once excited him, but now only echoed the emptiness that followed. Every time the door closed, Simon rearranged the instruments again, as if shifting their positions might somehow shift his luck too. But deep down, he knew the routine wasn't about business anymore. It was about holding on to a dream that refused to let go of him, even when the world had. In the shop, among all the instruments, one guitar sat apart. Old, dark, and strangely untouched. It had belonged to the shop for as long as Simon could remember. His father had purchased it long ago, though he had never told Simon its history. One afternoon, a young musician bought that guitar, thrilled to own it. But only days later, he returned, pale and unsettled. He claimed that misfortune had struck him soon after taking the guitar home. He had lost his job unexpectedly. He refunded his money quickly, wanting nothing more to do with the instrument. He admitted he knew the events were probably unrelated, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that the guitar had come into his life at the worst possible moment. He said it reminded him too much of everything going wrong. Seeing it in his room made his chest feel tight, like a symbol of bad timing. Simon didn't argue. He could see the stress written all over the young man's face. He took the guitar back without a word, chalking the situation up to coincidence mixed with anxiety. Weeks passed. Then another customer bought it as a birthday gift for his younger brother. But soon he returned as well, shaken, saying his brother had met with an accident the very day he received the guitar. The man explained that his brother had been excited about the gift, but had barely had time to play it before heading out on his motorcycle. A reckless driver had clipped him at an intersection. Nothing life-threatening, but serious enough to frighten the whole family. In the aftermath, the guitar became an uncomfortable reminder of that day, an object tied, however irrationally, to the accident. The family insisted on returning it, not out of superstition, but because they didn't want the brother associating his injury with something meant to make him happy. Simon accepted it again, listening quietly. He told himself it was just unfortunate timing, nothing more. But still, as he placed the guitar back in its corner, he couldn't help noticing how often people seemed eager to part with it. Fear knotted itself inside Simon. Was this instrument cursed? As soon as he had this thought, he quietly placed the guitar in a dim corner of the shop, determined never to sell it again. But life had much heavier storms for him. His young daughter, only 8, fell gravely ill. Doctors solved nothing. Medicines brought no change. The little girl, who once filled the house with her laughter, now lay still, breathing softly but weakening with every passing day. Simon's heart felt like it was sinking deeper with every sunrise. One night, standing beside her frail form, he whispered into the darkness, begging for mercy, fearful not only of losing her, but of losing his faith altogether. "Please God," he murmured, his voice trembling, "ease my hardships, or my heart will lose its light." Days went by with no sign of hope. His wife barely slept, sitting beside their daughter with weary eyes. Every time the doctor visited, he changed medicines, but there was still no cure. Medical bills piled up on the kitchen counter. The shop and his home both felt heavier each morning, silent, hollow, as though even the instrument sensed the sorrow that had settled inside his heart. Simon tried to stay strong for his family, but every time he saw his daughter struggle to breathe, something inside him bent a little more. And slowly, an unspoken fear grew in him, that even hope had begun to fade. Then, one morning, a strange-looking man entered the shop. His presence felt unusual, calm yet intense, quiet yet heavy with purpose. His eyes traveled across the shop only once, before fixing on the old guitar. "I want to buy that," he said. A chill ran through Simon. Memories of the 2 frightened customers returned, their trembling voices, their stories of sudden misfortune. But as the strange-looking customer stared at the guitar, another thought struck Simon like lightning. What if he, too, had become a victim of this cursed thing? His daughter's mysterious illness, his empty pockets, the days that felt like one misfortune after another. Suddenly, it all seemed connected in his overwhelmed mind. Fear tightened around his heart. "No," Simon said, his voice strained and shaking. "I cannot sell that guitar to anyone. Please choose something else, something safe." The man said nothing. He simply turned and walked out, leaving Simon with a heart full of trembling thoughts. That evening, when Simon reached home, he found the doctor waiting with a heavy expression. His wife and son stood anxiously nearby. "There is little hope left," the doctor said gently. "Take her to the city. Specialists might find answers, but it will cost a great deal." Simon stared at his empty hands. He had nothing, and his daughter had so little time. The next morning, as the sun barely rose, the strange man returned to the shop. Again, he said, "I want the guitar." Before Simon could refuse, the man placed an old leather pouch on the counter. "This," he said simply, "is more than its price." Simon hesitated, confusion and desperation twisting inside him. Why would anyone want something believed to bring misfortune? "Why?" Simon asked quietly. "Why risk yourself for it? You will know," the man replied, calm, certain, almost comforting. And then he left with the guitar in hand. Hours later, Simon finally opened the pouch at home. Some coins spilled out in a glittering shower, old copper, silver, and among them, a single brilliant gold coin. His breath caught. It was enough, more than enough, to save his daughter. Overwhelmed with relief, Simon lifted his eyes and whispered a trembling prayer of gratitude. God had not abandoned him, not even for a moment. They rushed their daughter to the city. Specialists worked tirelessly, and slowly, day by day, life returned to her little body. Her cheeks regained their color, her smile returned, and Simon heard his daughter's laughter once again, a sound he thought he would never hear again. Simon found himself just watching her breathe peacefully, as if confirming she was truly there, and not some fragile dream he might wake from. His wife cried tears of relief the first time their daughter asked for her favorite storybook again. Her tiny voice no longer weighed down by illness. The tension that had wrapped itself around their home began to loosen. Meals tasted normal again. Even the sunlight that filtered through the windows seemed warmer. Simon returned to opening the shop each morning with a lighter heart, carrying gratitude that softened every step he took. Finally, after weeks full of stress, his daughter became healthy and had come home once more. Simon slept without fear. That night, he dreamed. In his dream, the strange man stood before him, holding the old guitar, not cursed, not dangerous, simply silent. His voice was gentle, deep, comforting. "You feared life's hardships and mistook them for curses," he said. "Not every sorrow is a punishment, Simon. Some days are good, some days are heavy, but God is always near. I was sent only to remind you, to bring you back to trust." Before Simon could speak, the man faded, like morning mist disappearing in the rising sun. Simon awoke with peace in his heart, real, solid, warm. He no longer believed the guitar had ever been cursed. The only curse had been fear and the loss of faith that followed it. Now, he carried gratitude instead of fear, and hope instead of despair. And from that day forward, Simon lived his life with renewed belief, steady, grateful, and certain that blessings sometimes walk into our lives, disguised as strangers. Hardships are not curses, only tests. Faith turns fear into strength, and God's help often arrives in ways we least expect.